Senor, I don't know no Farid. I was just lying.
I'm gonna slit your throat.
Hey, what's up everybody? It's Prone here and welcome to the latest episode of Prones Picks. Over the next two episodes, I'm going all out and I'm going to count down my top 15 favorite sports films of all time.
I think you've had enough, Raw Dog. Is that the best shit you got?
There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
I don't mean to brag, but I'm the greatest.
That's because you never saw me.
Oh, you got jokes to go along with that ugly jump shot of yours, huh?
Sports films, why do we love them? Well, I guess it may be cliched, but what appeals to me are a lot of those sporting cliches. The underdog stories, the excitement of a contested match, the hardships and trials and tribulations that you have to overcome to reach that final goal or achievement. They're all things that appeal to me. They generally get a bad rap, but they're well written, well directed, well shot, well crafted films that more often than not can stand up next to indie darlings and critically acclaimed art house films. And there's also something to be said about the appeal of these films when there's a whole bunch of people out there that hate sports in general but love sports films. Anyway, this episode had so much goodness that I had to split it into two parts. So join Sydney Dean, Billy Hoyle, and myself as I count down part one, that's picks 15 to 8 of my all-time favorite sports films. I'm kicking off the list with some light-hearted coming-of-age baseball fun. I'm talking about 1993's The Sandlot.
Hey guys, it's The Sandlot, baby!
You're the ones that making all that racket.
A lifetime of adventure.
Come on, Squid, you can do it! Pull through, bud! You little pervert!
The Sandlot. A little piece of paradise, a half a block wide, and a whole season long.
There are literally hundreds of coming-of-age sports films, most of them Disney, that try to emulate the formula of The Sandlot. And look, 99% of them can't even come close to capturing the magic of this film. It's essentially a period hangout film that follows a group of kids over the summer of 1962 as they play ball and get up to all sorts of mischief. Now, this one is unlike pretty much every other film that's going to be on this list, as there's no real stakes per se. It's more just about the childhood friendships made and the summertime adventures had. It's well directed, has a great cast, the baseball scenes are shot really well, but for me, it's the coming of age aspect that really elevates this one. I'm switching up the tone big time for my next film with a very serious boxing drama. I'm talking about 1962's Requiem for a Heavyweight.
Now listen, Greenie, this plug don't show, base you don't get paid. That means you're out in the cold, you dig?
What'd you do? You beat up two bums? That ain't gonna help. I got a whole regiment. And what'd you win for Mace? An extra 8 minutes? Get these bums out of here.
I'm gonna see to it you don't get a license to walk a dog from now on. You don't think I will, huh? Well, just try me, mate.
Mace, darling, take a good look at yourself in the mirror. And then say goodbye to what you see. What do you want, it here or in the alley?
Let them do it slow, Ma. Let them do it nice and slow. I want to watch.
Anthony Quinn plays a hardened heavyweight boxer named Mountain Rivera at the end of his career. His shady manager Rennick gets in debt with some gangsters after he collapses on a bet. Rennick then schemes to get Rivera into a phony wrestling match to make some quick cash. Humiliated by the notion, the broken and battered Rivera quickly realizes that his options are limited after giving everything to the sport he once loved. Now, I'd never heard of this film until I started dipping into the late great Anthony Quinn's filmography. And it's a shame, because although the film may be 60 years old, it more than holds up, and you can see that it was hugely influential on the boxing films that followed. Now, a common theme with a lot of my favorite sports films, especially the older ones, is what happens when it's all over. What do you do when you've basically still got your whole life ahead of you and your body and sometimes mind are broken from giving everything to the sport that you love? This is one of the first films to tackle that issue, and it's handled really well, and therefore packs a serious emotional punch, pun intended, sorry. Quinn's scenes with Julie Harris, where he lays himself bare, are heartbreakingly honest and raw, reminiscent of Stallone and Shire in Rocky. And to be honest with you, it is really hard to see this not being a major influence on that film. At number 13, believe it or not, I have a Disney sports film. It's a high school football film with all the feels. I'm talking about 2000's Remember the Titans.
What's going on?
We wanted to let you know we was going to warm up a little different tonight.
We are the Titans, mighty, mighty Titans.
We're gonna let these people know who's gonna win state, right?
Right.
Right!
Right.
Greek mythology, the Titans were greater even than the gods.
We're gonna change the way we run.
They ruled their universe with absolute power.
We're gonna change the way we block.
For that football field out there tonight, that's our universe.
We're gonna change the way we win.
We don't let anything, nothing, come between us.
We are team.
I remember rolling my eyes when I saw the trailer for this one back in the day, but after I found out it was directed by the awesome writer-director Boaz Yakin, who's responsible for the amazing 1994 film Fresh, I was totally on board. I was maybe expecting a bit of grittiness with Boaz at the helm, but surprisingly he commits to the Disney cheese, and honestly the film is better for it. It really helps when you have veteran actors like Denzel and Will Patton who also commit to the tone of the film. Denzel really excels in films where he has another actor of his caliber to bounce off, and Patton is the perfect yin to his yang. Their scenes are well written and very well acted, elevating it above your usual feel-good Disney fare. The rest of the ensemble cast is also very good. You've got a lot of young talent at the start of their careers or on the cusp of breaking out. There's a fresh-faced Ryan Gosling straight from the set of the Mickey Mouse Club, Kate Bosworth, Ethan Suplee, Avon Barksdale himself, Wood Harris, and a really young Hayden Panettiere who's adorable and basically steals every single scene she's in.
Play like that, we'll lose every game.
The football games and training scenes in particular are ridiculously well done. There's an awesome training montage where they use split screens, different lenses, and aspect ratios that's really creative and effective as well. Anyway, Remember the Titans may be a little bit corny and completely on the nose in some parts, but it's well acted, it's really well executed, and it has a great message that's still relevant and I can certainly get behind it. Combat sports storylines are often very compelling, making them the perfect blueprint for a dramatic sports film. And in my number 12 spot, I have a dramatic, compelling boxing film. I'm talking about 2015's Creed.
I heard about a third fight between you and Apollo, behind closed doors. That true?
How do you know all this?
I'm his son.
Looking at the world through the TV, a day room, rapping over beats. They made electric chairs for us nowadays. Last meals, no appeals, then to try and stay. On death row like Suge in a late pot. Maybe he could dig a tunnel by the A block.
A great fighter once said, it ain't about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
When this film was first announced, I barely batted an eyelid, even though I'm a fan of Michael B. Jordan and director Ryan Coogler. For me, it was the last couple of Rocky films that were extremely unremarkable. And it was pretty sad seeing a 60-something-year-old Stallone still in the ring, so the thought of another one really wasn't that appealing to me. Thankfully though, Coogler and Stallone went back to what worked the best in this series, and that's Apollo and Rocky's friendship. The relationship between the two is my favourite aspect of these films, so the idea of having a initially reluctant Rocky training Apollo's son Adonis was a real winner. It's also a great plot point having Stallone as the wise trainer mentor character, taking a backseat to our protagonist hero Adonis. Stallone kills it with his performance here. It's a very mature, thoughtful performance and shows a side of Rocky that we as fans have never seen before. It's honestly one of his best performances. Michael B. Jordan is not to be outdone though, as he does a great job as a young boxer trying to find himself as a man and step out of his father's shadow. He also kills it in the ridiculously well choreographed and shot boxing scenes, which are obviously a massive highlight and arguably the best shot fight scenes of the whole series. With Creed, not only did they make one of the greatest boxing films of all time, they also did a great job introducing new fans to the franchise and giving it legs again, something that so many reboots or revamps fail to achieve. In at number 11, I've got a basketball film about the pressures of being a top high school prospect. I'm talking about Spike Lee's brilliant 1998 film, He Got Game.
I want you to go to big state, son. You find it in your heart to go to big state, they may let me out on early parole.
I got that arthritis thing.
My brother's got the same arthritic condition. It's going around here in Coney Island.
Yeah, it's contagious. But
Why in the hell did you name me Jesus anyway? What type of name is that?
Jesus! It's a biblical name.
No kidding.
I pray that you understand why I put you. I was the one who put the ball in your crib.
I ain't no baby no more.
Dear Lord, deliver Jesus to us. People make mistakes. People veer off the path. So what? God forgives them. When will you?
Never.
I bet he can finally beat you.
One-on-one?
And this will be the most important decision
in your life.
Don't blow it.
Now this spot was a real toss-up for me between obviously this film and the similar themed William Friedkin directed film Blue Chips. And for as much as a Billy Friedkin fanboy that I am, it's really hard to go past Spike Lee's wonderful visual flair, as well as peak Denzel. During the late 80s and 90s, the tampering and corruption regarding the recruitment of college athletes was big news, and this film mostly takes on the athlete's point of view. The casting of pro player Ray Allen as our protagonist, Jesus Shuttleworth, what a name, someone who's actually been through the process themselves, as well as other pros like Rick Fox, really add to the authenticity of the film. And speaking of Allen, obviously he slays in the basketball scenes. He's got the sweetest jump shot. And he does a fairly good job acting-wise, considering this is his first gig. It helps when you're surrounded by a plethora of great supporting actors as well. Allen thrives in the scenes with his girlfriend, played by Rosario Dawson, his sister, and with his boys. But he seems to struggle a little bit in his scenes with Denzel. There's definitely a coming of age aspect to the film as well, and not just from Jesus' perspective, as there's also a lot of character growth going on with the father Jake, as he seeks to right the wrongs from his past. Sometimes the story can be a little disjointed, and these parts of the films don't always work. But honestly, the way Spike tells the story through his enigmatic visual style more than makes up for those shortcomings. I've always been a huge fan of Spike Lee's style, and this is definitely one of his best shot and edited films. The way in which he changes perspective and uses multiple cutaway shots during dialogue scenes and voiceover monologues is creative and masterful on multiple levels. Anyway, check this one out if you haven't seen it in a minute or just plain haven't seen it. It more than holds up. It has an amazing visual style, iconic fashion, a fantastic score, and of course, an all-time performance from the great Denzel Washington. Kicking off the top 10, I've got a very inspirational pick about breaking the cycle, following your dreams, overcoming odds and adversities. I'm talking about 1993's Rudy.
Sometimes a winner is a dreamer who just won't quit.
Hey, you guys! My son's going to Notre Dame!
I'm here to play football for the Irish.
I wish God would put your heart in some of my players' bodies.
You're 5 feet nothing, 100 and nothing, and you got hardly a speck of athletic ability. In this lifetime, you don't have to prove nothing to nobody except yourself.
A true story from the creators of Hoosiers.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
Now, one thing that I've noticed about the best sports films is that they're not just about sport and often have very little sport action in them. This is pretty much the case for Rudy. In fact, there's hardly any training or football action until the final act. But that doesn't mean that the film isn't absorbing or exciting. After about 10 minutes with our protagonist, Daniel Rudy Rudiger, played beautifully by Sean Astin, and you're 100% rooting for him. Astin has always been an endearing actor, and he plays the character with so much heart that your want for him to achieve his goals is borderline unbearable. It's not just Astin either, as the rest of the supporting cast is also great. Ned Beatty is fantastic as the college football obsessed working class father. Charles S. Dutton is great as the mentor character. And a fresh-faced John Favreau is adorable as the best friend who helps him get into college. The film breaks down stereotypes of small-town folk and especially jocks, which I imagine back in 1993 was quite refreshing. And having real-life characters with sincere motivations who legitimately care for others really makes my heart swell. The film also nails the look and feel of the 70s, especially with the look of the coal mining town, the campus and football stadium, as well as the attention to detail with the costume design. There's a lot to take away from the film Rudy, and it's not just about an outstanding sporting achievement. It's a film about not settling in life, following your dreams, overcoming obstacles, and of course having self-belief. And in a world filled with so much negativity and hate, stories like this are so important and will forever be relevant. Oh, and how can I forget, it also has one of the greatest slow claps of all time. In the number 9 spot, I've got a film about one of the greatest sporting rivalries of all time. I'm talking about James Hunt versus Niki Lauda in Ron Howard's 2013 film, Rush.
More powerful than even the fear of death itself is the will to win.
Which is why I'm here begging. You really think you can beat him? Trust me.
Today with the rain, it's the most dangerous track in the world.
That all depends on how good you are in the rain. Let's race.
Niki Lauda, trapped in a searing inferno of 800 plus degrees.
The showdown between you and Niki is all anyone wants to see.
I feel responsible for what happened.
Watching you win those races, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
This was a really tough choice for me. John Frankenheimer's groundbreaking 1996 film Grand Prix and James Mangold's film Ford vs Ferrari were also in the mix. What it came down to though for me was the pure competitiveness between the two protagonists and also the brilliantly executed racing scenes. I find Formula One, especially from the 60s and 70s, to be extremely enthralling. The sport was still essentially forming, and the drivers were pushing the limits, making it one of the most dangerous sports in the world, risking death every time they took the track. Ron Howard and screenwriter Peter Morgan captured this perfectly on the track through a series of well-choreographed, thrilling racing set pieces, and off the track through the stress and strain on the drivers and their loved ones. They also do a great job capturing the look and feel of the 70s through their great production and costume design, which is always on show whenever Hemsworth is on screen. He plays the Playboy race car driver perfectly, and I'm honestly not the biggest fan, but he really does do a wonderful job in this. In fact, this is easily my favourite performance of his. Not to be outdone though, Daniel Bruhl shows why he's one of the best actors going, as he takes it to another level with his portrayal of the legendary Niki Lauda. Not only does he look and sound like Lauda, he does a great job conveying to the audience Lauda's drive and competitive nature as he pushes himself to the limits both physically and mentally. I'm a real sucker, not just for car racing films, but also films about great sporting rivalries, especially when there's admiration there. And I think that Rush nails the intensity of their relationship both on and off the track. And that's why I've got it in here as one of my favourite all-time sports films. Coming in at number 8, I've got one of the most realistic films about the goings-on behind the scenes of Gridiron, with PRONES Picks Hall of Famer and ex-footballer himself, Nick Nolte. That's 1979's North Dallas 40.
We would have won if we studied those tendencies.
Oh, shit! You never give us anything to bring in the game except your fucking facts and tendencies. To you, it's just a business. But to us, it's still gotta be a sport.
You're supposed to be a professional. You go out there and you play football.
Shit, we'll work harder than anybody to win. But man, when we're dead tired in the fourth quarter, winning's gotta mean more than just money.
You're hired to do a job.
Job! I don't want no fucking job. I want to play football, you asshole. I want some feeling. I want some fucking team spirit.
This ain't no high school. You don't have to love each other to play.
That's just what I mean, you bastard. Every time I call a game, you call it a business. And every time I call a business, you call it a game. You and BA and all the rest of you coaches are chicken shit cocksuckers. No feeling for the game at all, man. You'll win, but it'll just be numbers on a scoreboard. Numbers, that's all you care about. Fuck, man, that's not enough for me.
I don't have to listen to
Oh, yes, you fucking do. You gotta listen to me for once. All you coaches are chicken shit cocksuckers. You're all chicken shit cocksuckers. God damn you. Far out.
Now, I must say that I'm quite partial to sports films from the 70s. In fact, I probably could have done a full list on them alone. And like the best films from those periods, there's no holding back in the depiction of the athletes or the organizations that they work for. So much so that the NFL actually hated the film and refused to assist with the production, thinking that it would damage their brand. There's some wild ass shit going down in this film, and it's the absolute definition of toxic masculinity. Themes of racism in sport and society, drug use in sport, sexism, classism, and the hypocrisy of religion are all on full display here. In fact, a lot of the scenes in this, including an opening act bender, are extremely disturbing and not for the faint of heart.
Maybe you ought to take some vitamins.
Well, have some extreme. Mind if I do? Bit of Comazine.
Well, I'm having chocolate pudding.
Breakfast for champions there.
As good as the writing and directing are, I really think that it's Nolte's performance that takes this film to another level. His portrayal is so realistic, having played the game himself, that you can almost feel just how physically broken he is. I winced almost every time that he does anything half strenuous, and also whenever he's getting any sort of pre-game treatment. Anyway, if North Dallas 40 had some better shot football scenes, it'd probably be higher on the list. As it stands though, it's still very relevant and arguably one of the most realistic depictions of the NFL, especially off the field. Well, that's it for part 1 of my top 15 sports films of all time. Thanks for sticking around. Let me know what are some of your favorite sports films in the comments. Let me know what you think my 1 to 7 may be. I bet you can't guess what my number 1 is. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. I hope that you have a fun, movie-filled week. I'm Prone. I'll catch you next time.
Peace.